Good evening, everyone. Good evening, council members of the public who are joining us here in the gallery and those who are joining online. I'd like to welcome you all to the beautiful Summerside City Hall here in our historic council chambers to our monthly council meeting of March 17th, 2026 and our planning board meeting of March 17th, 2026. There will be two meetings here tonight. One will follow the other. First, we'll have a planning board meeting, and then we will follow immediately after that with our monthly council meeting. So I'll begin by calling to order the planning board meeting here at 5:32 p.m. I would ask for a member of planning board to move and another member of planning board to second the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Adams, seconded by Councillor Duran. All members of planning board in favor of the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Hearing none, we will move on to our land acknowledgement. We begin each one of our meetings here at the City of Summerside by acknowledging that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abagway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. At this time, I'll ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to either of the items on the planning board agenda this evening. Seeing none, we'll move along. I will just take a moment here, council, and I did discuss this with council in advance and members of the public. Today is a sad day here in Prince Edward Island, particularly amongst the governing caucus, the Legislative Assembly, and I think all elected officials and members of the community. We learned today the passing of the late Honourable Mark McLean, former Minister of Health, Minister of Finance, MLA for District 16, Cornwall Meadowbank. And on behalf of all of council, we'd like to express our condolences and deepest sympathies to Mark's family, of course, and to his colleagues as well as all of his friends, many of who are and the same. On the way into City Hall this evening, I spoke briefly with the Premier, and I did let him know as well that we would be lowering our flags both at City Hall to half-mast and at the Credit Union Place. With that, I think we'll just ask for just a brief moment of silence here in council chambers to pay our respects to the late Honourable Mark McLean. Thank you, council. Thank you, members of the public, for that. With that, we do have to move on into our meeting, and at this point, I'll hand it over to our Chair of Planning Board, Councillor Duran, with item 2, a recommendation with respect to a major variance of 44 Acadian Avenue. Councillor Duran.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Application for a major variance for 44 Acadian Avenue. And that major variance is with respect to the flankage yard and the side yard. Just for anyone's information, the flankage yard is the side yard of a corner lot that runs from the front yard to the rear yard along the street-facing side of the property. The purpose of the variance requests are to decrease the flankage and side yard setbacks for the proposed single detached dwelling. In the background, the city has received a building permit application from Jordan Ellis to build a single detached dwelling. The applicant realized their design does not meet the minimum setbacks for flankage and side yards and has requested 2 variances. For the flankage yard, the proposed flankage yard is 3 meters, whereas the City of Summerside zoning bylaw allows a minimum flankage yard of 4 meters, resulting in a 25% variance to accommodate the proposed house plan. And for the side yard, the proposed side yard is 2.2 meters, whereas the City of Summerside zoning bylaw allows a minimum side yard of 2.5 meters, resulting in a 12% variance to accommodate the proposed house plan. To process a major variance, more than 10%, subject to council approval, the development officer shall provide written notice to all assessed property owners within a radius of 30 meters or 98.4 feet from the subject lot. describing the variance sought and inviting written comments within 7 clear days. The application is reviewed by the planning board. The planning board makes a recommendation to council, and council may approve, deny, or approve a variance less than requested. The report under section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw, variance applications shall be considered by council, planning board, or the development officer as applicable against the following tests for justifying a variance. All applicable criteria must be met. A, that the hardship is due to unique physical conditions on the lot or property, including small lot size, irregular lot shape, existing building location on the property, or exceptional topographical conditions which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity with bylaw standards. Exceptional topographical conditions may include but are not limited to trees, slope of the land, etc. And the comment from staff, yes, these variance requests would meet this test. The subject lot is a corner lot, has an easement in the rear and an overhead electrical wire running along Bernard Avenue, introducing several complicated features to accommodate. Additionally, the applicant has plans to locate a home-based business in the new build, which has been designed with this in mind and keeps the living space and the office space separate. Flankage yard setbacks are larger to accommodate road sightlines. The requested variance to the flankage yard setback along Bernard Avenue still allows for sufficient sightlines at the Bernard Avenue and Acadian Avenue intersection. The second variance request to the side yard, the northernmost property line, also meets this test. There is an overhead electrical wire along Bernard Avenue that requires a minimum setback of 3 meters from buildings. To accommodate this setback, the house has been pushed north into the minimum side yard. B, that the proposed variance meets the general intent of the official plan. Staff comment, yes, these variance requests would meet this test. The variances meet the intent of the official plan. The applicant has also stated that he would like to keep the design to 1 story, ensuring accessibility for his needs in the future, as well as the needs of future owners of the home. Accessibility is a key aspect of a livable community, as noted in section 3 of the official plan. He is also planning to operate a home-based business from this property. The official plan speaks to encouraging diversity in neighborhoods, which includes allowing home-based businesses. And that is from sections 3.6 and 5.4.4. It goes from A to B to A again, so I'm going to say, so that's C. So C, the proposed variance meets the general intent of the zone. Staff comment, yes, these variance requests would meet this test. The proposed variances are in reference to a single detached dwelling in an established neighborhood surrounded by other single detached dwellings. And D, that the proposed variance would not impact negatively on adjacent properties or on the essential character of the surrounding neighborhood, including taking into consideration any comments from neighbors. Staff comment, yes, these variance requests would meet this test. 11 letters were mailed to 8 properties within 30 meters of the boundaries of the subject property. Comments from adjacent property owners were due on or before March 3rd, 2026. The development officer received a call from Brian and Norma Ellis of 148 Bernard Avenue on February 20th, 2026. They stated they were not opposed to the variances, with their property being only one of 2 to abut the subject property. Another adjacent landowner requested more information but had no concerns after reviewing the application. Other comments were not received in time to be included in the meeting package. If more comments are received, they will be shared with the councillors in time for the meeting. And I don't think we received any, so there were no additional comments. Staff review. City staff support the application for the variances for the flankage yard, 25%, and the side yard, 12% at 44 Acadian Avenue. As per section 7.3 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board's recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward for council for a final decision. And the planning board recommendation, the application received from Jordan Ellis to allow a flankage yard of 3 meters resulting in a 25% variance, as well as a side yard of 2.2 meters resulting in a 12% variance, be recommended to be approved by council. Moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder from planning board. Councillor Adams. Are there any questions or comments?
I just had one quick question. It said when you read out loud about the 30 meters, the notification for 30 meters, did we change that? I thought we changed it and made it larger than that.
We changed it for rezoning, but not for
Rezoning
variances.
only? Okay, so it wasn't for, okay.
And then we changed it to, I think, 60 meters for.
60 for that, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Coughing up a lung up there. If there's nothing further, I'll ask for a vote from members of Planning Board to send this to council. Councillor Trenholm, did you have anything?
No, I'm just getting ready for the vote.
Okay, so all members of Planning Board in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous, so there would be no nays. I will hand back over to Mayor Kutcher.
Thank you, Councillor Duran, and I give the potato right back to you here. You're still going, number 3, the IRAC consent order, LA 25002, and I'll hand it back to our chair, Planning Board, Councillor
Fair
Duran.
enough.
Councillor.
Okay, so over the past year, Council and Planning Board have dealt with a rezoning application submitted by Flourish International for land located east of Greenwood Drive and north of Pope Road. The original application sought to rezone 3 portions of the property from R1 and R2 to R4 to allow for apartment development. Although the city completed the full public process, including notice, public meetings, and a detailed planning analysis recommending approval, Council ultimately denied the application in February 2025. The developer then appealed that decision to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission. And during that process, the city and the developer participated in mediation and reached a mutually agreed resolution. As part of that agreement, the developer withdrew its appeal regarding the 2 northern portions of the property, and IRAC approved the rezoning of the southern portion, located north of Pope Road, Gospel Hall, and the Nissan dealership from R2 to R4. IRAC has now issued a formal consent order implementing that agreement. This is a binding order of the Commission, not a recommendation, and it is not something that we can amend or overturn. So our role is simply to acknowledge the order publicly and implement it administratively. So I will now read that consent order into the record for public awareness. So it is, this is directly from IRAC. It says there's, yeah, it's not very long. So the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission between Z&C Flourish International Limited, the appellant, and the City of Summerside, the respondent. The consent order, whereas A, on November 30th, 2024, the appellant applied to rezone portions of PID 1163526, the subject property, from single-family residential R1 zone to high-density residential R4 zone, and from low-density mixed residential R2 zone to high-density residential R4 zone, for the purpose of allowing apartment building or apartment buildings into the proposed R4 zone, the application. B, the application sought to rezone 3 portions of the subject property, 2 portions on the northern boundary of the subject property, designated respectively as proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N1 and proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N2, and 1 portion on the southern boundary of the subject property designated as proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444S. C, the City of Summerside provided public notice, held public meetings, and received comments and feedback from the public in accordance with section 5.10 of the zoning bylaw SS15, the zoning bylaw. D, the city's development officer prepared a report to Planning Board dated January 20th, 2025, which provided analysis with respect to the criteria outlined at section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw. E, the city's development officer and the Planning Board recommended approval of the entire application owing to the application meeting the criteria set out in the city's official plan, zoning bylaw, and sound planning principles. F, the council for the City of Summerside denied the application during the council meeting of February 4th, 2025. G, the appellant filed a notice of appeal with the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission The commission pursuant to subsection 28, part 1.1 of the Planning Act, RSPEI 1988 CP-8, dated February 21st, 2025, in which the appellant asked the commission to approve the application. H, a mediation was held at the commission offices on September 16th, 2025, pursuant to subsection 11.1, part 1 of the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission Act, RSPEI 1988, CI-11, at which the appellant and respondent agreed to the terms of a resolution as evidenced below by the signature of their respective signing authorities as follows. A, the portion of the subject property delineated in the attached Schedule A and identified in City of Summerside zoning bylaw amendment 444S will be rezoned from low-density mixed residential R2 to high-density residential R4 zone. B, the appellant will withdraw their appeal with respect to proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N1 and proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N2. C, the parties will request that the terms of their agreement be incorporated into an order of the commission pursuant to subsection 11.1 part 2 of the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission Act, RSPEI 1988 C1-1. And D, the respondent will file a copy of this order with the minister responsible for the Planning Act and will implement this order through amending its zoning map to reflect the rezoning. And I, the parties have requested the commission to incorporate the terms of their agreement into an order pursuant to subsection 11.1 part 2 of the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission Act, RSPEI 1988 C1-11. One, the commission orders that the portion of the subject property delineated in the attached Schedule A and identified in City of Summerside zoning bylaw amendment 444S be and is hereby rezoned from low-density mixed residential R2 to high-density residential R4 zone, the rezoning. And 2, the commission orders that the appeal with respect to proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N1 and proposed zoning bylaw amendment 444N2 are dismissed. And the signatures are below, and Schedule A is attached, just showing the subject property on the map. So there's nothing to vote on or debate. Certainly any questions will be asked if we can answer them here this evening. If not, we can find the answers, but that's that.
I just have one, and did it state why they appealed the appeal when it went in? Did it state what they were appealing? Did we do something wrong, or? What's that?
That's really for staff, because it would have been staff who would have been, and
Yeah.
legal counsel who would have been dealing with the
Yeah.
matter, not mayor and council.
It
But
just-
I
I
don't
didn't
think
see
there was
it.
anything in the consent order that identified
No, I
that.
didn't see anything in there, so I
The,
just thought,
the appeal itself is available, like through IRAC if you want.
okay,
Be
that's
on
great.
public
I just
record.
wanted to make sure that people knew that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Ron. Thank you, council. With that, Councillor McColman?
I'm not a lawyer, and I know that this appeal went forward, but I guess what I am wondering, and I don't know if I'm permitted to say this, but I do feel that there were, I don't know how many residents from that area, but I do know that letters did go into IRAC. And I do have a concern that this is being presented to council. We're basically being told that it's been decided upon, and I don't see any residents here tonight. And I really feel that we, as a council, have been elected to be that voice of our residents, and how are we supposed to address this with them, is my question. Like, I just don't feel there's been so much information out there in the community that people are looking to us, and I realize that we have a document that when anything is before us, when we make a decision on anything, we speak to that. And I believe that most of us have tried very hard to speak to that. But my point that I am making is that we are here tonight, but to me, it seems like it's a done deal. And how are we supposed to speak to our residents if they have questions? So I'm putting that out on the floor. I apologize if I'm not supposed to say that, but that's how I feel. So can anybody answer that?
Just quickly, I hear 100% what you're saying, Norma, and I think that would be a question that IRAC would have to answer. They're the body that unfortunately, when council, we made the decision, now have decided that for whatever reason they've overturned it, and now I think honestly they own that decision now, so that would be a question for IRAC and the reasoning behind their decision to proceed the way they did. But as a council, to your point, I think we all debated and made our decisions and tried to make it with sound guidance and evidence-based decisions. So again, I think that would be a decision or a question for IRAC, and I think they've tried to lay it out, but I'm no lawyer either, and sometimes that jargon loses me, but that would be definitely a question for IRAC.
And if I may, Mr. Chair,
Please, yeah.
if I could make one more final point, I respect the order of the governance of everything that's involved in this. But again, I do feel that we are the body that has to represent residents, and I don't feel as though I can give a satisfactory answer because, number one, we were not a part of the mediation process. We did hear some information, but I don't feel like I have clarity that I could explain that to the residents. And so I'm saying that we're receiving this tonight, that it's being decided, but when we earlier talked about it, council had a difference of opinion, and I do know that some of the residents, when they did appeal it, they had some concerns when they appealed it. So I think and I hope that those residents would get some answer from IRAC in writing on it.
Yeah, and I can respond to part of that, seeing as most of the folks that were against it were in my ward. So I've spoken to some of them since this came forward. Likely not all of them, but those that I did reach out to, it was explained to them. Some reached out to me, and I'm sure that there's some that didn't and may be unaware of this, but I did what I could to reach out to them. I voted against it originally, so at least, you know, we have that to stand on, but yeah, it was from IRAC. We as a city, obviously, as a council, sorry, we were given the choice whether to, I guess it was appeal the appeal or argue the appeal with the risk that the whole application would be approved. And it was likely that wouldn't have succeeded, or go to mediation and have a fair chance of, well, the outcome that we have is the outcome that we originally wanted, so. Yeah. Like we, and it's all, you know, in minutes, so I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. When the original application came in, it was noted fairly well around the room here that we were, and residents were accepting of those bottom portions, but not the top. And that's what we're dealing with here today. The bottom portions have been ordered, rezoned by IRAC, and the top have been ordered to remain as is. So that's what we originally, maybe not unanimously, but as a council, when we first denied the application, that was many of our reasoning for voting against it, was because we weren't in favor of that top portion being rezoned, and that's the outcome. So at the end of the day, I think this is a relatively good outcome, and yeah.
Is it normal? I'm sorry, one more question, may I please? So in section I, on page 2 of 4, And I don't understand this, so I just tried to clarify it. The parties have requested the commission to incorporate the items of their agreement into an order pursuant to subsection 11(1), Part 2 of the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission. And I'm just wondering, is that a standard process that they do when something has been changed?
That I cannot answer,
I think when it's
personally.
mediation, that's.
I didn't think mediation was like a lawyer. Mediation was to resolve a conflict, I thought.
Yeah,
But it's a binding, so my understanding, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that basically saying that due to the mediation and both parties
Have agreed.
accepting that it's now being incorporated as an official agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Council. With that, we'll adjourn our planning board meeting, and we'll move into our monthly meeting of March 17, 2026. I will begin by calling it to order here at 5:57 PM. I'll call for a mover and a seconder with respect to the agenda as so presented. Deputy Snow, moved by Councillor Snow, second by Councillor Duran. All in favor of the agenda as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Changes, rejections, revisions, seeing and hearing none, we will carry forward with the agenda as presented. I'll also ask council at any time now to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda before you tonight. Seeing and hearing none, we'll continue to take along into item 2. Minutes, I will ask for a member of planning board to move and a member of planning board to second the adoption of the planning board meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2026. So move Councillor Duran, second, I'll second as a member of planning board. Mayor Kuchar, all members of planning board in favor of adopting the planning board meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2026 as presented in the package, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Give me a moment because Ken's online. Hearing none, those minutes are adopted. Same thing for all of council with respect to the monthly meeting minutes of February 17, 2026 and the committee of the whole meeting of March 3rd, 2026. I'd ask for a councillor to move and one to second the adoption of the minutes. Councillor McCollum, so moved. Councillor Morrison, second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, changes, or revisions? Seeing none, all of the minutes are hereby adopted. At this point in time, we move on to accolades or recognitions. Opportunity for any member of council to identify any accolades or recognitions from the last couple of weeks in council. We'll start with Councillor Adams, then we'll move to Councillor McCollum. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick one. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Director Kristen and finance staff on our recent budget. Yeah, it was made a lot easier with all your organizations, so I just wanted to thank you for that. Thank you.
Councillor McCollum.
Just on a more lighthearted note, I just wanted to wish a St. Patrick's happy wishes to all of the residents within our community that certainly do have Irish descendants heritage. It's a pretty happy day for people.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, council. We don't have any public presentations, petitions, or delegations on tonight. Move into staff reports. I'd like to welcome Lindsay Connelly up for review CS1 election bylaw housekeeping items, and I think these are items to ensure that there is adherence or coherence, something, with the Municipal Government Act and our elections bylaw. So I'll hand it over to you, Lindsay. Welcome.
Okay. Hello, everyone. There we go. So the Bylaw and Governance Committee has some busy months ahead, and while there's a lot of work that takes place at that level, they and we are all aware of the responsibility and due diligence of all councillors when considering municipal governance and bylaw development. The committee is prioritizing awareness and discussion at both committee and council levels as we're working through these bylaw updates, and we've decided to do this and encourage the discussion and awareness by having a brief informational staff presentation ahead of any actions coming with bylaws. So this is the first time that we're trying this, so feedback is welcome. We will have time for a few questions at the end of this presentation, and any questions that I can't answer, or if we don't have time to answer them, I'll write them down, take them back for discussion at the committee level, and we'll have responses for the next council meeting as well. So I'll start by reviewing the agenda and actions following today. So today we are discussing some required updates to our elections bylaw. As we prepare for the November election, there are several required actions that council must follow to comply with the MGA. So a good example of this is the April 21st council resolution to appoint the municipal elections officer and deputy municipal elections officer. But it also includes that we need to ensure our bylaws comply with existing legislature and its amendments. So we'll be following this order for today. So in December 2025, the MGA released an amendment to their elections regulations. It also became effective as of December 2025. There were 17 sections of the regulations that were updated, and some of the reasons included that information is provided in the MGA using different processes and was changed in the MGA. Now they're just updating the regulations to match. That some information is readily available online and in other places. Other reasons are to accurately reflect requirements of the MGA. There was some conflicting language. And then again, to improve wording and general understanding, and also to incorporate technology. It's amazing how many documents still reference fax machines. So they're pretty minor updates to the regulations, which means that there are minor required updates within our own elections bylaw. Some of the updates include adding language from regulations into the bylaw on what information is included in the preliminary list of electors. So for example, currently, that we don't have anything referencing that will collect someone's name or address or phone number, that kind of thing. There's now clear language in the regulations that breaks all of that down. They're also removing reference to elections PEI and returning officer and replacing with municipal electoral officer when directed from the regulations. That's just an update to current practices. There's an update process for accepting and counting mail-in ballots as prescribed in regulations. And finally, updating the Schedule 1 nomination of candidate form with the most recent form that was just released in December 2025, I believe. So while we're making those edits, I was trying to find a more PC way of saying to kill two birds with one stone, and I couldn't, so we're gonna try to kill two birds with one stone. So this elections bylaw, we've seen 4 amendments since it was adopted by council, and it's due for some cleaning up. These are just some very basic housekeeping edits. Proposed edits include adding in full definitions from the MGA and regulations directly into our elections bylaw. So as you can see on the screen, maybe, depending on how blurry it is, currently, our elections bylaw says campaign contribution means a campaign contribution as defined in the campaign contribution and election expenses bylaw regulations. So that means if you're someone who's reading our bylaw and looking to find out more information, you have to go to our bylaw, and then you have to go to the campaign contributions and election expenses bylaw regulations to find out what that actually means and contains. We're hoping to make this process more accessible and more just easier in general for everyone, that they can just go to one document and get as much of the information as possible. The next edit or cleanup is removing all references to something being repealed by a previous amendment. This is just cleanups. And then finally, some general formatting and language improvements to ensure that the information is accessible to everyone. Moving forward, we're adjusting to non-gendered language for everything. It's easier, it saves characters, and I think will ultimately shave off a good couple of pages off of some of our bylaws. So after today, I will note any questions or discussion points to bring to the March 31st Bylaw and Governance Committee meeting. We will prepare a draft to go through a repeal and replace process with an anticipated first reading on April 7th. If it is read and approved as read on April 7th, we will go for a second reading on April 21st. We also must appoint the municipal electoral officer, you must appoint the municipal electoral officer and deputy MEO by a resolution by the second Monday in May. With the current meeting schedule, we have scheduled this for April 21st, the monthly council meeting. And now, any questions?
One. It
Councilman Doolittle?
says, if you can go back one slide, it says that council must appoint the municipal electoral officer. Okay. I just thought it would be the CAO or somebody like that would do that, but anyway, I guess it's us.
It has to be done by resolution by council. That's in the
resolution,
MGA, yeah.
But we have no part in the selection.
The selection is, so,
I guess that's what I'm trying to say is.
Yes, yeah.
Council shouldn't have any part in the selection.
That makes
Should
sense.
just be able to confirm it, right?
so it's
Pardon?
through
Yeah.
elections PEI. Yeah,
Yeah,
And then we agree with their.
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And just, if I may echo on what you're saying. Because there always was that understanding that council is to stay very removed from anything that would come across as a conflict. And so I think that's maybe just to help us in the governance so that we're removed from it other than the resolution.
yes, yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay. Great.
Perfect. Thanks, Norma.
Thanks. We'll move on to item 6, appointment to committees. There are no appointments to committees here this evening, so we'll move into item 7. We have 2 resolutions before us tonight. Resolution COS 26-006, the major variance with respect to 44 Acadian Avenue. I will hand that back to Councillor Duran, Chair of Planning Board. Councillor?
Okay. Resolution COS 25-006. Whereas an application was received from Jordan Ellis to build a single detached dwelling, and whereas section 15.6 of the City of Summerside zoning bylaw states a flankage yard of 4 meters, or 13.1 feet, and a side yard of 2.5 meters, or 8.2 feet, is required for a single detached dwelling in the R1 zone. And whereas the applicant is requesting a variance of 25% to the flankage yard and a variance of 12% to the side yard, and whereas section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw allows for a variance to be granted after council has considered the following tests. A, that the hardship is due to unique physical conditions on the lot or property, including small lot size, irregular lot shape, existing building location on the property, or exceptional topographical conditions which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity with bylaw standards. Exceptional topographical conditions may include but are not limited to trees, slope of the land, etc. That the proposed variance meets the general intent of the official plan. C, that the proposed variance meets the general intent of the zone. D, that the proposed variance would not impact negatively on adjacent properties or on the essential character of the surrounding neighborhood, including taking into consideration any comments from neighbors. Be it resolved that council grant a flankage yard variance of 25% and a side yard variance of 12% for the proposed single-family dwelling at 44 Acadian Avenue. This application bears the recommendation of the Planning Board meeting of March 17th, 2026. Moved by myself, and I would ask for a member of council to second the application. Deputy Mayor Snow.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Resolution COS 25-006 hold on a second. I'll make a friendly amendment to the resolution name in the package. It should be Resolution COS 26. So with respect to Resolution COS 26-006, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Deputy Mayor Snow, is on the floor. We'll open the floor to members of council for questions, comment, feedback. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councillor Duran. At this point, I'll hand it over to Councillor McDougall, Chair of Finance Committee. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a resolution here, COS 26-007, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Morrison. Whereas the Government of Canada and the Province of Prince Edward Island renewed the Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF, agreement for another 10 years from 2024 to 2034. Whereas the municipal strategic component, the MSC, stream of this funding program has made the first priority project categories as water, wastewater, and projects that demonstrate that they will help alleviate housing related infrastructure pressures. The funding contribution percentage calculates as 50%, with the remaining 50% being funded by the municipality. And whereas the CCBF and MFC stream is open for application intake until March 20th, 2026, and the Infrastructure Secretary with the province of PEI requires a council resolution to support the applications. Be it resolved that the council approves submitting applications to the CCBF and MSC stream for water, wet, and sewer infrastructure replacement. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Resolution COS 26-007, moved by Councillor McDougall, seconded by Councillor Morrison, is on the floor. Questions, comments, statements from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, council. With that, we will move on to item 8, department reports. We'll start at the top here. Department of Finance representative and Finance Committee Chair, Councillor McDougall. Councillor.
Thank you again, Your Worship. I do have a report here by our Director, Kristen McDonald. And good evening to my colleagues on City Council and residents of Summerside. The report tonight consists of a recap of the 2026 budget and an update on our preliminary financial results we close in on at the end of 2025-26 fiscal year. We're still projecting a small surplus in the general fund and a deficit in the electric utility and Sunbank operation. The city delivered its 2026-27 budget to the public on March 12th, and council will be voting on this budget during the meeting held on Thursday, March 26th at 12 noon. This budget invests in young working families, supports older adults, and continues to make Summerside a fun and vibrant place to live. It's been developed to balance between growth and responsibility, investment and affordability for today's needs and tomorrow's obligations. Just a few highlights from the budget is it's an $82.8 million budget made up of $36.5 million from the general fund and $46.3 million for the utilities. Some of the projects are $6.1 million invested in our electric system and $5.5 million for the portion of the fire hall that's expected to be completed during the 26-27 year. $3.5 million for upgrades to the water system, $3.2 million for the sewer system, and $1 million for the active transportation and pedestrian infrastructure, including a new sidewalk on Lafergie Avenue, and crosswalk infrastructure improvements and pedestrian safety enhancement in select areas. I would also add that there's $457,000 going to the boardwalk remediation. There's also $850,000 in park and recreation infrastructure, including an inclusive structure and basketball court, repairs at Legier Park, a splash pad for Lafergie Park, water feature at Errol Thompson Park, and a dog park on Northumberland Street, and new washrooms in Green Shore. An update on the status of the utility accounts receivable as of March 7th is attached to this report, and collection notices continue to be issued to customers with overdue balances. And customers receiving these notices are encouraged to contact financial services. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. If there's any questions?
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. I'll now call on Governance, HR, and Legal Services Representative, Councillor McColman, and Chair of Bylaws and Governance, Councillor McColman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening to my colleagues on council. I'm pleased to present tonight's report, and it has been prepared by Director Kendra Gunn with Human Resources. So the general information for the council and public meeting are that the 2025 T4s have been issued. We would also like to welcome Constable Eric Andre, I believe, who has been hired at Police Services. I'm just not sure of the proper pronunciation, if it's Andre or Andrew. Applications for the police sponsorship program are being reviewed, with interviews expected in the coming weeks. Part-time staff have been hired at Credit Union Place, and interviews have been held for summer engineering students with technical services. Staff have attended virtual professional development seminars, and the department has liaised with the city's medical health plan provider on a number of staff inquiries. Staff liaised with the city's pension plan custodian to address inquiries from staff and pensioners. Staff attended monthly joint occupational safety and health committee meetings. Basic and intermediate first aid was held for staff in recent weeks. The department staff continue to support various city departments and work with external legal counsel on staffing, human resources, and legal matters, including drafting and reviewing contracts and leases and supporting civil claims. And in closing, I'll just mention that tonight we did have the presentation on behalf of the Governance Committee and on the election bylaw. And just as a note for us in the record, that the bylaw will be coming back to council as a resolution and a vote at the April monthly meeting, just to have that documented. That concludes my report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McColman. Any questions for Councillor McColman from members of council? Seeing none at this time, we will move on to our next department report. Representative Councillor Morrison of Municipal Services, also our chair of our Electric Utility Governance Committee. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Works, Water and Sewer Utilities highlights. And I don't know if this first one would really be a highlight, but the roadway is experiencing higher than normal issues of frost heaving and potholes due to the thaw-freeze cycles of water that has penetrated through the asphalt. All issues can be reported to our front reception desk of municipal services at 902-432-1268 and follow-up. Also, during this time of year, the public is reminded to maintain your backwater valve on your sewage connection to prevent sewer backups inside properties. With thaw and melting cycles occurring, there is a higher risk of backups on the home system as groundwater enters the sewer system. Electric utility highlights. The number 7 engine that experienced the exhaust fire has been put to rest, with its cooling system reused for engine number 1. Staff reused the cooling system of engine 7 to assist the aging number 1 in keeping its running temperature within operating limits, making it more reliable. In Summerside, electric utility has been recently highlighted as a glowing example under Action Canada's report on modernizing Canada's electrical grid for a climate-resilient future. The recommendation of empowering households to become active participants in grid resilience, enabling community-scale energy redundancy, and finally aligning grid modernization regulations and data tools for resilience outcomes were seen to embody the City of Summerside's electric utility. And there's a spot there where that report can be found. And I'd like to thank Director Gray Goody for this report.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to next. A representative for Arts, Culture, Diversity, Councillor Cameron, also chair of our DEI Committee, Youth Committee, and AI Committee. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to thank Lori Ellis for the following report, which captures some highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from the mid-February to mid-March time period. Culture Summerside is currently working on the development of the 2026 Summerside Lobster Carnival program and its special emphasis on the 150th anniversary of harness racing in Summerside. The overall celebration will be an exciting lineup of island and maritime entertainment, food, outdoor fun, harness racing, and community gatherings. A release of specific event information will be organized later this month. The City of Summerside announced a call for artists for proposals for a mural to enhance the exterior of the Credit Union Place at 511 Notre Dame Street. The call for the mural proposal is connected to the 150th anniversary of Summerside Raceway that began at the Summerside Driving Park in 1876 in Travelers Rest. The mural project is meant to have ample community engagement opportunities and will involve an artist or artists who are comfortable demonstrating mural making to the community and encourage engagement in its development. A second call for mural proposals also went out in March for a mural to enhance the exterior of 246 Water Street, which is the Jewelry Plus building here in Summerside. The theme for this mural is Shining Bright. This theme is intended to encourage and remind community members to shine and be proud of their individual and community identities and accomplishments. Shining Bright can also involve the displaying of skills and talents and positive qualities and excelling in noticeable ways. The deadline for both of these calls are March 20th. The mural parquet, Charles E. Lafergie, currently on the side of the Holland College Maritime Training Center, will come down this month to allow for maintenance on the building. This allows staff an excellent opportunity to assess the condition, if its condition allows it to be touched up and reinstalled. This mural, painted by Greg Garand, may be at the end of its lifespan, and if it is, then it has been up there for 25 years. It was installed in June of 2001 with funding from the Canadian Millennium Partnership Program. And lastly, the City of Summerside's Heritage and Culture Awards will be presented at the T, representing a wide range of heritage and cultural activities in the community in 2025. A team of adjudicators from the community have reviewed the nominations, and a list of award winners will be circulated to mayor and council and city staff in preparation of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any further questions from members of council? Seeing none, we'll call on to Representative for Technical Services and Chair of Planning Board, Councillor Duran. Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The city is preparing for the 2026 construction season while several private projects continue throughout the winter. Staff are finalizing budgets, completing design work, and getting tenders ready for release in early April to support May construction starts. Cairns Boulevard is now complete and open. The final traffic signal work will be finished once the fiber connection at McEwen Road is installed. The Fire Hall project has been awarded and is expected to begin this spring. Staff are also closing out last year's projects and working with developers to prepare for spring construction. Planning and development staff continue to meet with developers and will bring several planning items to council this month. The subdivision bylaw review is underway, with proposed updates planned for council this winter. In February, 3 building permits were issued, valued at just over $1.4 million. This brings the year-to-date total to 18 permits worth $7.6 million. And staff are also developing a new building permit and development tracking system for launch this year. Residents planning projects for 2026 are encouraged to reach out now for assistance. And thank you to Aaron McDonald, the Director of Technical Services, for preparing the report.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Any further questions from members of council? Seeing none, I will call on Deputy Mayor Snow, Representative for Economic Development and Growth and Chair of our Downtown Transformation Committee. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following is a brief update of the Office of Economic Development, some of the economic development and key initiatives for the month. This month, the Economic Development Team has been actively advancing several initiatives across transportation, clean energy, infrastructure, business growth, and investment attraction. Under transit, we are collaborating closely with our transit operator to address locally identified logistics with a goal of improving service and supporting increased ridership. Hydrogen and H2O initiatives. Exploration continues into clean fuel opportunities, specifically utilizing hydrogen as a sustainable energy source for the community. East-West Connector. Time has been spent reviewing the East-West Connector project, including property owner interviews and assessing the long-term potential of this important infrastructure opportunity. One Island Promotional Initiative. Our team successfully wrapped up missions with the City of Charlottetown as part of the federally supported One Island Initiative, enhancing regional collaboration and promotion. Local business growth. We are actively working with 4 local businesses on exciting expansion projects focused on diversifying the local economy and supporting their growth ambitions. National partners are engaged to address labor, space, and energy as key pillars of these expansion opportunities. Property development support. Collaboration with local realtors. Continue providing key statistical and economic data to support commercial property opportunities in Summerside and attract new investment. Under investment attraction, working with Invest in Canada, we are pursuing foreign direct investment FDI opportunities in 2026, supporting both expansion of existing businesses and attraction of new companies to Summerside. Through these efforts, the city continues to foster a supportive environment for business growth, regional collaboration, and sustainable economic development. This concludes my monthly report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Snow. Any further questions from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call on Representative Adams, the Chair of Community Safety Committee and Representative for Emergency Services and Communications. Council.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chief Jason Blackier submitted the Summerside Police Services report. February was another busy month with calls for service. On February 2nd, our 2 newest police cadets reported in person to the Atlantic Police Academy for their training. On February 9th, Chief Blackier and Sergeant Daly attended Three Oaks High School staff meeting to present to staff on signs and symptoms of drug use. February 10th, preparations began for the implementation of the Next Gen 911 system, which will be operational in spring 2027. This is an upgraded 911 system that is a national initiative, so we'll see improvements made to the current system. On February 18th, Police Services had its annual file review by the Office of the Police Commissioner, and K9 Lucy continues to make a measurable impact on police service and the community as a whole. They're continuously receiving requests for Lucy to appear at events for local schools and gatherings for community groups, and Lucy has also comforted numerous victims, adults and children, of serious crimes, which have enabled them to better tell their stories to police for further investigation. So that is from Constable Blackier. And if there's no questions, I'll go right into fire. This is from Ken Culleton. February 2026 report, 22 calls. The breakdown is 2 medicals, 17 silent alarms, and 3 general alarms. The training, firefighters took part in 122 hours of training, which included training with a new porta tank, ice rescue training, drone training, and pump training. Members participated in several firefighter and community events during the month. 10 members participated in the Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser for Lighthouse. Upgrades and repairs have begun with the 2 city-owned water vehicles at the Yacht Club. A number of our members are teaching new PI firefighters that are taking required level 1 and 2 training, and Chief Ron attended the monthly PEI Firefighter Association meeting at the Provincial Fire School. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any further questions from members of council?
Just one,
Councillor
and
Matula?
I don't know if anybody can answer it, but it seems to be a lot of alarm panels. Are these all the same calls each time? Because I see there's 10, 15, and then 10. Just on the breakdowns, yeah.
Yeah, on the alarm panels, yeah. I don't know if that's a regular, like Justin, do you know?
There is the odd property that constantly, not constantly, but commonly has calls, like we'll have repeat
Yeah.
calls to some of them, but not a lot, like the same 2 or 3 will sometimes repeat a couple times a month.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. This time, I think Councillor Cameron is going to read in the report for Councillor Trenholm, representative for Community Services and Tourism. So, Councillor Cameron, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you again, and thanks to Robbie Rankin for this report. At the Dome, there is a new multi-sport court, which is now in play, and will allow to offer more programming for day and evening for more public drop-ins. It has also increased the amount of traffic in the Dome during the mornings, which is previously a quiet time. And they are also trying out a bunch of different sports to figure out what works and what doesn't and what can be put into a schedule for next season. Active Living Summerside recently wrapped up a series of very successful and well-attended Valentine's Day programs. Also a full lineup of exciting activities scheduled throughout March break, which is this week, for families and youth to enjoy, which there is one tomorrow night from 5 to 8, put on by the Youth Advisory Committee for teens grade 7 to grade 12. Lots of fun things going on, and I will also be there. Not that that's a selling feature, but I am fun. Island Petroleum Energy Center and Turk Gallant Arena. The PEI Star Skate and Provincial Synchronized Skating Championships were held in the IPEC on March 7th and 8th. The executive director of Skate Canada said that everything went very well. The skaters were very happy, and it was the highlight of their season for skate PEI events. Also hosted a multitude of tournaments with a total of 44 teams over 3 weekends. Roughly 30 of those teams were from off-island. The Confederation Bridge Aquatic Center has a new aquafit instructor who has now started. Private lessons are just wrapping up. Group lessons still going on until, this is mid-November, so that's a long time for lessons, so sign your kids up and make them learn how to swim. It's important. And the Dolphins swim meet went well, which had 22 of our own competitors at the meet. The front desk and bowling lanes hosted Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl for Kids' Sake, as well as Strike 13 Youth Bowling fundraiser on March 1st. There were 26 reservations at the convention center for rentals through February, and another 12 bookings were at the Oval. At the box office, the Centennial Cup packages continue to sell. In Summerside, Western Capitals playoffs are being built into the system, and tickets will become available once they are able to be set up, the game dates and times. And green spaces are getting equipment ready for April 7th tentatively. And their sets program, the Rotary Park Rundown took place in February, which was the Fat Biking Sports Tourism event in partnership with Cycling PEI. And organizing committees and staff continue to work hard on the logistical planning for a multitude of really good upcoming events, including the Centennial Cup, Shipwright Run, Canada Day festivities, and many more. And lastly, at the Summerside Marina and Curling Complex, Bogside Famous Peppers Pizza and Crafter Smokehouse opened for business in the Curling Complex this month. The Curling Complex hosted the Tough Spiel, the Club Championships, the Curl PEI Mixed Doubles, the Foxy Ladies Bond Spiel, as well as the 55+ Games curling event, and Explore Summerside's Winter Warmth Curl event. And that was a lot, and that's everything.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. On behalf of Councillor Trenholm, any questions from members of council?
Not a
Councillor
question, just a quick comment. As Councillor Cameron was bringing off all the stuff happening there, just to clarify, the Caps are currently, as we speak today, currently in their playoffs. Currently tied 1-1 with Amherst and play Thursday night, so tickets are constantly on sale, so get out and support our junior A team, which would be great. Secondly, I don't know how many people realize the importance of sort of the events that happen without you really knowing. So we mentioned 30 teams from off island over a month, and how significant that is. as one tourism operator in this city. You speak to other tourism operators, restaurants and stuff that are trying to make a go of it, especially during the winter months, how important that is and how much of an economic impact that provides to our city. So that's very important. And the summer ahead with some significant events happening, we have Tanner Duran here who puts a lot of time and effort into the events in our city, and that work is really important to the success of the city. So I just want to recognize that as we sit here talking about those things.
Councillor Adams?
I just wanted to also add that on Thursday is the rescheduled town hall meeting for health, hosted by the MLAs, and it's at this coming Thursday, I think that's the 19th, so it's from 6:30 until 8, so that's just before the Caps game. So.
Great, thank you, Councillor Adams. And I'll say one last thing too on Councillor Cameron's reading in Councillor Trenholm's report. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to spend 13 straight hours at the Credit Union Place from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. During the PEI Star Skate, but there was also the Lifehouse coldest walk of the year. I got to pop down and give a speech and then go for a walk. There was a bowling tournament. There was a swimming event. There was a hockey tournament. There were people coming and going all day long from all walks of life from across our city and across our region, and certainly give me as mayor, and I'm sure all of you as council, we feel a lot of pride in the facility and the team that manages that facility and makes things work on the day-to-day. Really incredible space. And Councillor Ron.
Yeah.
Your Worship, may I just add
Sure.
a little thought? When you say that about Credit Union Place, I'm sure Councillor McDougall would remember when that was an idea on a piece of paper. I do remember that, you know, quite a few people in the community, they did come on board and support it eventually. But at first, I don't think people really thought that it would become such an anchor to the community with so many people, all levels and of accessibility and ages, enjoying it to the high degree that it is now. So I think it's something that we need to be very thankful for in our community because it means a lot to people, all ages.
Yeah, and just I know some of the upcoming events were mentioned. I don't think this was, the under 18 A hockey provincials are this weekend at the Cup.
All right, thank you, Council. With that, we'll adjourn our meeting. We have a brief in-camera item, and then that'll be the end of the evening for Council. And thank you for members of the public joining us here in person and online. Yeah, Council, we'll just take a quick 5 minutes.